All right, so I'm in my car, sitting in traffic, as always, it seems. So I figured I would do a video. This one might be a little heavy for some, but if you're a mom with ADHD or you have a child with ADHD, you might find this to be very useful. Well, more like, the moms with ADHD, you guys can relate, you know what I'm saying? So when I was about 8 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD, moderate to severe. Again, I didn't really think much of it at the time. I'm like, there's no way, because I didn't have enough self-awareness to understand the situation. So, yeah. But I learned to control it over time because I could not take medication. I tried a couple times, different ones, and each one was not a very good situation. It did the opposite of what it was supposed to do. So I had to learn to control the ADHD on my own. And I've done pretty good with that for, a very long time. Because the first time I tried medication, I was about 9. And then I tried it again when I was about 17, 18 years old. And that was more for like my anxiety, or like test anxiety. But that didn't work either then, that medication. So I ended up learning how to just control on my own and do the best I could. And I've done okay with that for a long time. Now, if you're a mom with ADHD, then you very much know this situation. People with ADHD, we get overstimulated very quickly. And when we get overstimulated very quickly, we have to back up and recharge. It's not anything bad. It just means that we're getting, the overstimulation is becoming a problem. And that means that it can create moodiness. It can create a lot of emotional moods, a lot of emotions. So again, having a kid and having ADHD, I've been heavily overstimulated. My job is very much high stimulation. Okay, so my full-time job is very high stimulation. So I'm there 7.5 hours a day. Okay, at my job. I go home, my kid's already there, so then I'm put into another high stimulation. So it's been very hard for me to recharge myself. And I've been feeling a lot of this, not anxiety, but a lot of frustration and a lot of anger because I can't recharge. And again, usually I'm really good at recharging myself, but for the last few weeks, I have been struggling to recharge to the point that I've been thinking about not going back, but trying again on medication, just because it's getting to the point where I feel like I'm not in control of my ADHD anymore. I've also noticed that when I had my kid, I would hyperfixate pretty badly. And again, hyperfixating wasn't something that I had with my ADHD before. Not really. It would be something that was pretty minor. I'd say on a scale from 1 to 10. Sometimes, most of the time, a 4. But after having my kid, I would hyperfixate on a 9 or a 10. So and there'd be times where I wouldn't be able to break from a task. So a lot of people with ADHD, once they hyperfixate on that task, you cannot get them from that task. It's really hard for them to disconnect. And I noticed that when I had my kid, it was really hard for me to disconnect from certain things. So even washing bottles, I would get frustrated just having to stop and go do something else. Go do the laundry really quick or whatever, at that time. If someone was oh, go do this, oh, can you go do this real quick? Or whatever. It was really hard for me to disconnect from that task. Because my hyperfixation was on a whole other level that I'd never seen it on before. So it's been really difficult with the ADHD. Okay. Now, if you're a mom and your kid has ADHD and you have no idea what the hell you're doing, you don't know anything about this, you're scared, you're confused, you're everything, it's okay. All right. But it's good to do a lot of research and to understand your kid. So for me, what worked for me growing up was being very physically active. So sports, anything where I was moving and doing something, I was getting that hyper part of the ADHD out. And it was really, really helpful. Okay? That was what was, that did a lot for me. And it still does. It still does a lot for me. Though I wouldn't say a lot of my issues is with the hyperactivity. It was more like the attention part of it. But when I was a kid, it was really a little bit of both. But as I got older, it became more of the attention. Okay. Kids with ADHD, and we're going back to the attention. Okay. Kids with ADHD, they tend to have avoidant behavior. It's not because they don't want to do it necessarily. It's because they're extremely overwhelmed. Okay. It's not because, like, you know, if they're trying to avoid their homework and they get a paper due the next day, it's not because, you know, they don't necessarily want to do it. It's because they're already overwhelmed and they're stressed. And they figure, I want to avoid this to save myself more stress and more overwhelmingness, so I'm going to put it off. Now, logically, you're kind of like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But in their brains, it does. Okay? So I was a lot like that growing up as a kid. And as I got older, I learned that procrastination was not good. So my brain kind of went to, if I wait too long on something, I'm going to get even more stressed. Now, there were times in school, you know, in college, you know, once I'm past this whole procrastination thing, there were times in college that when I had an assignment that was stressing me out, I would become avoidant behavior. I would do avoidant behavior and I would put it off. Okay? And I had a lot of that this past semester. Because I'm also in grad school full-time. Yeah, mom full-time, working full-time, grad school full-time. And I had this one class this past semester that was like the hell of my life. My whole cohort hated this class. I was very avoidant in that class because I didn't understand a damn thing. I did not understand anything. And unfortunately, it did not pertain to my degree. Therefore, I did not care. And that's where the ADHD kind of comes in. So when I get to something that does not pertain to helping me, I shut it down mentally. I just shut it down, even though I had to pass the class. So I became very avoidant last semester, to the point I'd never been this avoidant since I'd say probably my undergrad. I'd say undergrad. I hadn't become this avoidant. So I had to force myself to do assignments. And a lot of times, guess what? They were done the day of. In that class, because I'm like, you know what, I just can't handle this right now. You know, I was dealing with the overstimulation, I was dealing from work, I was dealing with a lot of things, and I'm like, this class is the last thing that I really give two shits about. Okay, so that was kind of like my thing. So the ADHD, you know, there's a lot of different things to it, and again, everybody's different. The thing, you know, most people talk about, you know, kids with ADHD, but they don't really talk about the adults with ADHD, and they definitely do not talk about the moms with ADHD and what that looks like for us. So if you know a mom that has ADHD, reach out to her, because chances are she's overstimulated beyond belief, and she's probably got a short fuse because she's having a hard time recharging. Okay? So, and again, the overstimulation, like I said, it also comes with kids. So if your kid has ADHD and they withdraw, okay, they're withdrawing from a situation where 1 minute they're hyper, they got the energy, and then they start to just wind down, that is them losing their battery power. That's what I call it, the battery power. Okay? When they go in a room by themselves or they get away from everybody, they are recharging. They're not angry. That's not what's happening. They're recharging. All right? Because they've been overstimulated and they need to kind of back it up, go to a quiet place, and they'll come back out. You know, give it like 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Some kids might take an hour or two to recharge. It depends. Every kid's different. For me, it was about 30 minutes of recharge, 20, 30 minutes of recharge, depending on the stimulation. So now, as an adult dealing with the stimulation, I don't have time to really get my 20 to 30 minutes to recharge. So what I like to do sometimes is I'll sit in the car in the driveway for like 5 minutes, and I'll get my recharge. So you're kind of thinking, well, why not do it on the way home? Well, on the way home, I'm in a high traffic area, and I'm in bumper to bumper for an hour and a half going home. That is not a recharge. That is just another different kind of stimulation. So I like to recharge in the yard. Okay. Sometimes I'll take a long shower for 15-20 minutes, and that'll be my recharge time. Okay. So that's like, yeah, the life of ADHD, especially the moms with ADHD. It's been a battle, like, you know, and again, like I said, I've known how to control this since I was diagnosed as a child. But it feels now that it's like out of my control in a lot of ways, and it feels like I need to try the meds again and see if I can't get some control back. So that's something that I've been really contemplating, because all the things that I was doing before are not working anymore. So yeah. So that's like my PSA, I guess. Overstimulation, let them recharge. ADHD moms, I see you. I see you. And I understand you. Okay? We're together on this. We got this. And for next week's video, check out my author videos and my other playlist, and I'll talk about what it's like having ADHD as an author and what that looks like in the whole writing process. And I hope everyone has a great morning and a great week. And if you like what you're hearing and all that good stuff, make sure you click subscribe.